HOA Karen screamed about my ducks, then slipped on the pond liner she tried to steal. The sun dipped low over my small farm, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose. My ducks, Mabel and her waddling crew, splashed happily in the pond I'd built with my own hands. It was my sanctuary, a slice of peace carved out after years of city noise. But peace, it seemed, was a luxury I wasn't allowed to keep. Not since Karen moved into the neighborhood. Her HOA clipboard clutched like a scepter of authority. Karen was the self-appointed queen of our rural cul-de-sac, a place where the HOA's reach was supposed to be minimal. She'd storm through backyards, citing violations that existed only in her head. My ducks were her latest obsession. "They're a nuisance," she'd shriek, her voice piercing the evening calm. "They lower property values." I'd nod, smile, and let her tirade fizzle out. But last week, her complaints escalated to threats. "I'll have that pond drained," she spat, jabbing a manicured finger toward Mabel, who quacked defiantly. I tried reasoning. "They're just ducks, Karen. They're not hurting anyone." But her eyes gleamed with something beyond annoyance, greed. Maybe, or just the thrill of control. I didn't know then that she'd set her sights on my pond liner, a heavy-duty sheet I'd spent a small fortune on to keep the water clean. To her, it was a trophy, proof she could bend me to her will. That evening, the air was thick with tension. I was repairing a fence when I heard the ducks erupt in a frenzy. Mabel's honks were sharper, panicked. I grabbed my shovel and ran to the pond. There was Karen, knee-deep in mud, yanking at the pond liner with a wild look in her eyes. "This is illegal," she screamed, though her words made no sense. "You can't have this eyesore." "Karen, stop," I shouted, my voice raw with anger. The ducks scattered, quacking in distress as she tugged harder, ripping the liner's edge. I stepped closer, shovel in hand, not to threaten, but to protect what was mine. She spun around, her face contorted with rage. "You'll regret this," she hissed, advancing toward me, a muddy wrench in her hand. The scene felt like a standoff in some old western, except the villain was a middle-aged woman in a neon tracksuit. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. Old Man Jenkins, the quiet widower who lived next door, appeared from the shadows. He rarely spoke, keeping to himself since his wife passed, but now his voice cut through the chaos. "Karen, you're stealing," he said, calm but firm, holding up his phone. "I've got it all on video." His sudden presence stunned us both. Karen froze, her wrench clattering to the ground. Jenkins, with his weathered face and steady gaze, was no longer just the old man who fed stray cats. He was a witness, a quiet hero who'd had enough of her tyranny. Karen's bravado crumbled. "You're all against me," she wailed, spinning to flee. But in her haste, she stepped on the slick pond liner she'd loosened. Her feet slipped, and with a dramatic flail, she fell backward into the pond. The splash was enormous, sending ducks flapping and water spraying. For a moment, she sat there, soaked and sputtering, her pride as muddied as her clothes. I should have laughed, but all I felt was pity. Jenkins lowered his phone, shaking his head. "Some folks never learn," he muttered. I helped her out, though she swatted my hand away. "This isn't over," she choked, dripping and humiliated. But it was over. Jenkins's video spread through the neighborhood faster than gossip at a church picnic. The HOA board, tired of Karen's antics, stripped her of her self-proclaimed authority. My ducks were safe, the pond liner repaired, but the victory felt hollow. Karen wasn't evil, just lost in her need to control, to matter. I saw her a week later, packing her car, her face drawn and defeated. She'd sold her house, unable to face the neighbors' whispers. I sat by the pond that night, Mabel nestled nearby. Jenkins joined me, a rare smile on his face. "Didn't expect to play hero," he said, tossing a pebble into the water. I realized then that sometimes the quiet ones carry the loudest truths. Karen's fall wasn't just a slip on a pond liner, it was the collapse of a life built on tearing others down. Yet, as I watched the ripples fade, I wondered if any of us were free of her flaws. Who hasn't, in some small way, tried to control what isn't theirs? What do you think? Does justice always come at such a bitter cost? Or can we find a better way to resolve our conflicts?